For Honor, a game for the most battle-hardened of players. Strategy, timing, reflex and awareness are all key factors on whether you fall or stand tall. With a hard start post-release in 2017 due to a range of issues, For Honor has had a turbulent time, which in my opinion has kept it off the radars of many players who would have actually loved the game. It's gone through the review ratings from the very bottom to comfortably and mostly positive on Steam, which for the huge number of total reviews is nothing to scoff at. You play a selection of heroes from all walks of historical life, Vikings, samurai and even a pirate, to basically bash your opponent's head in, and For Honor lets you do this in style. The mechanics seem incredibly well crafted to reward skill-based play, with the option for a Mortal Kombat style execution to every exchange. The movement felt fantastic and the visual elements along with the level design made for more of an immersive, in-the-moment type of gameplay. I kept finding myself being that annoying friend that would say, imagine if this was an MMO. I mean, imagine. The tutorial is thorough and allows you to test each combat feature at your own pace, before opening up options to a really decent selection of game modes that we'll go through in this video. Playing the game was a bit of a shock to my expectations. Despite enjoying medieval-style combat games such as Chivalry and Mordal, the way For Honor presents the same themes is a style of its very own, and way more in line with the preferences of someone like me, who more enjoys pure skill-based small-scale fighting. What requires learning, however, is how to navigate around friendly fire. Jumping on your nearest enemy mindlessly swinging can at times be a hindrance to your own team, particularly when ganging up on a lone enemy, and adds to the high skill ceiling to make 1vx a genuine possibility. Well, not for me, or bias, but we saw it through other means.
Like a lot of modern live service games, For Honor's release came with a host of connection issues, and these issues left players with a bitter taste in their mouth almost right away. However, despite the technical issues at launch, the game's design and mechanics meant that a solid, dedicated player base grew around it, and gamers were eager to dive into the bloodied battlefield and competitive combat system to improve their skills, unlock new characters and customization options, and ultimately come out standing victorious on the bodies of their lesser enemies. Anyone who's played For Honor would probably agree that the game lives and dies by the combat mechanics, and while they do take a bit of getting used to, the overall feel and style was great for us. After some time, the blocking became intuitive and straightforward, only needing to move your mouse in one of 3 directions based on which of 3 sides the icons light up. And then the mix of attacks, stamina management, combos, unique chain attacks depending on your character, and the active abilities that you can choose all come together to really make a good medieval combat game. When you load in for the first time, the tutorial does a good job at guiding you through the mechanics, and it really helps you understand the ins and outs of what you need to do during a fight. But this early tutorial really just scratches the surface. For each character, you'll find a unique moveset that you'll need to memorize to get the most from them. You'll also need to know what other characters do to prevent being caught in a fight that becomes difficult to predict or read. This complexity makes 1v1s and even 1vx's a really fun puzzle to try and figure out. On top of all this, you'll also have finishers that heal some of your maximum HP. You have guard breaks, stuns, parries and counters that really can turn the tide of the fight if you time them correctly. Overall, it's really a well-designed combat system, and I'd say it's this system that can be credited for the continued success of the game. My only advice really is to be careful about trying to fight more than one player at a time, or being caught out by enemy players as they ambush you while you're in a 1v1. Ultimately, the style of combat you enjoy will inform the characters you ultimately decide to play. For Honor has a pretty wide selection of characters to choose from fast, agile assassins like Shinobi, to the big brawlers like Viking Raider. It is really worth trying out as many as you can, because you might be surprised with the ones you enjoy and the ones you don't. I personally love Highlander because of his heavy hitting attacks and the aesthetics, but most people online do think he's trash. And because I play so casually, it doesn't really matter about me using the meta. But if you want to play competitively, it's probably worth taking the pros and cons of each character into consideration. I also enjoy Arochi because of his mobility and ability to counterattack. I like Berserker because of their moveset, and Raider because of their pure ability to use brute force through the fight. Ultimately, however you enjoy playing, you'll find a character that comes pretty close to what you want, and new characters are being added over time to try and test. Regardless of who you choose to play, you're going to have a decent amount of customization options to help you make your character look the part and style them to your liking. Different pieces of equipment have different stats, shown on the screen here, and you can upgrade pieces of weapons and armor to further increase their effectiveness. There's also a pretty straightforward transmog system that allows you to change the appearance of your gear, and you can switch that out with anything you've unlocked so far. To me, any feature like this is really good for the game. It means in any game you won't have to choose between style and effectiveness. Because most of the time, just like in Dark Souls, style always wins. In addition to all of this, you also have the option of choosing colours and designs, further helping you to perfect the look and stand out from your teammates. Next up, we'll take a look at level design. The game does have a campaign which is worth playing to get grips with everything if you're new. The story is half decent and gives context to the setting with some cool cutscenes. It's essentially a long tutorial helping players hone their skills against some AI before getting spanked by the enemy players in the main multiplayer mode. These main game modes do vary massively, and most of them are really decent fun, but the population does vary from mode to mode. Siege assaults have one team push a siege engine towards the walls of an enemy fort or keep, smash down the gates and push through to defeat a PvE boss, all while the enemy team tries to stop you. This game mode seems like one of the more popular ones, and the design is actually a lot of fun. As the attackers, you have to balance capturing walls and other strategic points and defending your siege ram. And as the defenders, you need to try and do the opposite, which is defending your tactical points and destroying the ram. Ultimately, this mode ends in a defense and attack of the PvE boss commander, and you're going to have to take him down or prevent him being taken down to win. For those of you wanting all combat and none of the bells and whistles, you also have arena fights for 1v1, 2v2 and 3v3. Here you can test yourself against other players or AI through combat in its purest form. No other objectives other than to kill the enemy team. There are other game modes like the popular domination mode, in which teams have to control areas of the map in order to get points to ultimately beat the opposition to 1000. And there really is something for everyone. Whether you want to 1v1 duel or fight your way into a castle and across a battlefield, the varied game modes prevent the game from becoming too stale, and you're free to mix things up as and when you want to. The maps are also pretty well designed, and the positions of spawns, location of control points, and the number of minions seems pretty well balanced for the most part, and didn't give us any concerns while we were playing. Lastly, we have the visuals. For those of you who find graphical fidelity a make or break. We played at 1080p with max graphic settings, and the game looked great. It was originally released in 2017 but holds up to today. Everything from the environment to the character models looks great, and at no point did the visuals take away from the brutal and chaotic Battlefield experience. The only thing that we found annoying was the menu system, which was pretty clunky and unintuitive, and to be honest it felt like a pretty bad console port for the most part, needing us to press weird keys to navigate what could have been a far more streamlined design.
With For Honor, we found ourselves a unique experience set within themes that we're familiar with in other titles, and to be honest, it's a shame that we didn't come across it sooner. The interface is incredibly clean, yet still gives you all the information you need to fight with enemies fairly and without feeling lost in the process. There are ample customization options to make yourself stand out and claim those style points, and the variety of characters available offers the player a wide choice of playstyles, making it more likely you'll find one that meets your criteria. I personally prefer the all-round kits of characters like Valkyrie, but had a hard time getting to grips with the likes of the Berserker's combos and playstyle, despite Bias using it very well and my team having a lot of trouble from every enemy Berserker we met. The main drawback I would consider is whether there's enough variety in gameplay overall to keep more than just a small core veteran player base, which we've seen with similar titles. Particularly as it's hugely skill-based, and without the steady flow of new and casual players, the differences in skill level might be a hard barrier of entry for many. All round, this is a game really worth looking into. If you're a fan of PvP, small-scale team combat, and a combat system that leans more towards the skill of the player than any sort of RNG mechanics when deciding the victor, then it might just be for you. Let us know what you think of the game in the comments below, and we'll see you in the next one.